follow me on Facebook. A lot of anxiety right now. All right, so we're going to talk about the Internet of Things today, and also if there are people in the room who are on Twitter, wanted to mention that when you see the little blue bird at the bottom of many of my slides, that's a little tweetable, 140 characters or less. Hopefully it's meaningful and information you can share out with your audiences online. And of course, we can use the official hashtag, which is CPS15. But before we talk about what's happening today in 2015 with the Internet of Things and how this is going to change everything for all of us, let's take a look back at how far we've come with technology. So, starting out, let's see. Hold on a second. I might want to use the appropriate clicker. That'll help things. Circa 1970, the personal electronic transactor. This giant computer was state of the art at the time. Did anyone have one of these? There's always a couple in the room. A few people. All right, it weighed about 44 pounds, so next time you complain about how heavy your laptop is, I want you to think back to this old school machine. Perhaps if you didn't have a personal electronic transactor, you can come with me to the 1980s and you will remember this particular piece of technology, which was revolutionary at the time. Yes, the famous brick phone, which cost the equivalent of about $20,000 today when it first came out. I'm from Prince Edward Island. I grew up in a small town outside of Charlottetown. I went to a one-room schoolhouse. Grade 1, I was in one row. Grade 2, I was in another row. Grade 3, I was in another row. You get the point. And I remember my dad came home with the brick phone, and this was the most exciting thing in my small little world, because finally we could be connected to people anywhere in the world. And it was a very interesting piece of technology, and I would argue that the reception of these old school brick phones is better than the reception we have today. I can't explain why that happened, but nonetheless, it's true. So let's go into the 1990s. This is the time when the internet came into our lives. In my view, an amazing platform that really does bring people together from all parts of the world. And if you remember those days, this is the way that many of us used to talk about the internet.
Well, there's a revolution going on in the rec rooms, offices, and in classrooms around the world. A revolution in which 15 billion people are taking part. They're sharing scientific data, arguing philosophy, or passing on cooking tips and gossip, night and day through a computer network called Internet. For about $200 a year, they log on to personal computers connected to phone lines and communicate across cultures and continents. Bill Cameron has this report on the growing phenomenon of Internet.
The funny thing is, Peter Mansford still says internet exactly like this. But the rest of us have definitely come a long way. And to put it in perspective, let's take a look at a couple of images. The first are both of them announcing the new Pope at St. Peter's Square, but the first circa 2005. That's not that long ago. But let's take a look at how much technology there was in the crowd. As you can see from this photo, there's one tiny little flip phone in the bottom corner of the screen. I believe I had that exact same phone. So not a lot of technology announcing the new Pope. Well, let's fast forward just a few years to 2013. In just 8 years, we can see how much has actually changed, how prevalent mobile technology has become in our world, and how that entirely changes the way that we communicate. I would argue in my own life, in 2010, one of the devices that had the most impact was the iPad. The new iPad weighing about a pound, 69% of people using in the bedroom, 42% in the kitchen, and please don't raise your hands. But 20% of men using in the bathroom. But nonetheless, the real reason I recognized that this was such an important device was watching my son, who was just 1 year old at the time, who could understand how to take the iPad. He would play around with it. Within a year of him using the iPad, not on a regular basis, but now and again, he understood how to do things like charge the iPad. He understood how to play some games. At the time, not toilet trained at all, couldn't say any words, and yet he understood this new world. So here's a little quick video of my son when he was first reaching out. I want to believe that he's a technological genius, but from what I've heard from Steve Mann's presentation yesterday, his 6-year-old, in fact, is quite the genius, so I guess my son's behind. But nonetheless, when he was 2 years old, let's take a look at what he was doing. The reason I want to show you this video is that at the end of my presentation, I'm going to show you a video of what he's doing today at just 6 years old with technology. because I hear a lot of talk when it comes to technology about the millennials. You know, everybody's crazy about the millennials. But in my point of view, from my point of view, I'm more interested in this next generation. What's going to happen with them? Because the reality is this is a generation that has truly grown up with connected devices. What is the first thing that most kids see today when they're born? I'm not saying this is a positive. It's not their mom's face, it's not their dad's face. Chances are they have an iPhone pointed at them because someone's recording video of their birth, right? And I think that this stat really reflects that. 38% of children under 2 are already using smartphones. I mean, this is something that's entirely hardwired into the way that they learn. So let's go forward a bit into 2015 and talk about the business world and this idea of technology disruption. So we live in a fascinating time, and I'm more optimistic than pessimistic about this time for many different reasons. Take a look at some of these very disruptive companies. The world's largest taxi company, in fact, has no cars. Of course, that would be Uber. All right, better. The world's largest accommodations company has no property. Any guesses? Yeah, you guys are getting better. The world's largest retailer has no inventory. Who would that be? Alibaba. So what an amazing time that we live in today when it comes to technology and how it's changing the way that we do business. But what's also very exciting is this idea of the Internet of Things. And it's not even an idea anymore because many of these products exist and are for sale today. So if you're familiar with the Internet of Things, I'm sure many of you are, it's this idea of connected devices. So the idea that many different products in our homes will have sensors in them that connect to our smartphones, allow us to be smarter, to save money, and do all sorts of things. Now, 26 billion devices will be connected to the Internet by 2020. And this number is actually a very conservative number because if you ask Cisco, they say it's going to be 50 billion devices. And again, I go back to this idea that 2020 is just a few years away. We know how quickly all of this is happening today and how much it's going to impact the way that all of us protect our privacy, but all of us interact as well. So when it comes to everyday objects, one of the first connected devices was this Coca-Cola machine. Many years ago in 1982, the idea that you could actually order a Coke from a device like a computer, and the idea that that whole transaction would happen. Today, the things have become much more sophisticated when it becomes the Internet of Things. So if there's one quote that I want you to remember when we talk through some of these Internet of Things devices, this is it from race car driver Mario Andretti. If everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. And I think this is particularly relevant in 2015. I do a lot of speaking. I go out to events. Every morning before I go on stage, I'm scouring the Internet to see if I've missed something that's just taken place. And there are times where literally an hour goes by and something has entirely changed. So it's hard for all of us to keep up. So hopefully this will help you. We're going to talk about 10 different IoT items and industries that will be affected in the next few years. So the first one I want to talk about is the future of health. So this goes back to the time when we were born, just little babies, and Internet of Things devices that will help us possibly become more informed parents. One of the devices that's getting a lot of attention online is called Mimo. And what Mimo is this tiny little turtle that has a sensor in it that fits within a sleeper for an infant that monitors the baby's breathing, gives you an indication of how the baby is doing, their heart rate, and all of this information that can be streamed to your phone. As I'm sure you can imagine, a lot of parents are excited about this. From a privacy perspective, as far as the data, I mean, that is also worrisome. But at the end of the day, there'll be some relieved parents who may actually get some sleep at night. So here's how that particular product works.
Nemo's machine washable onesies monitor the respiration, skin temperature, body position, and activity level of infants. The information is sent directly to your smartphone in real time. You can also listen to audio. You can even set notifications for any changes. Nemo can also track your baby's sleeping, feeding, and other schedules over time. Easy to set up, safe for baby, and allows parents to rest easy. Side effects of Nemo may relief from that heavy, anxious feeling in your stomach. Clear and accurate information about your infant. Waking in the morning feeling refreshed and energized.
And it's not just about babies. Let's take a look at seniors. Many seniors are obviously taking different prescriptions. They may have a hard time keeping track of all those prescriptions. As a caregiver, you want to be better informed in terms of knowing when they are taking certain pills. So companies come up with something called GlowCap. This will help you monitor, if you're looking after an elderly person, monitor when they are actually taking those pills.
Setting up your glow cap is a quick process that should only take a few minutes. Simply remove the glow cap from the packaging and fill the bottle with your regular medication. Log on to my.vitality.net and enter your name, dosage schedule, and description of your medications. Plug in the reminder light to a visible wall outlet. Be sure this light is in a room you frequently spend time in. Then simply press the button on the base of the cap twice to activate the device. Now you are ready for added peace of mind with the help of GlowCap medication management.
So when it comes to health, we can see what an impact the Internet of Things will have on our lives. And this really leads into this conversation about wearables. Right now, I'm wearing the new Apple Watch. I will say that since I got it approximately 1 month ago, I've actually been healthier. I can truly say that. The reason is it's driving me freaking crazy because it's telling me to stand every 30 minutes, and so I have anxiety about sitting down. But nonetheless, there are things that are built into the sensors that force you to move more. I travel a lot. I'm always on airplanes, so I love this idea that I'm sitting down on the plane, and after half an hour, it just vibrates on the backside and says it's time to stand for 1 minute, and then it's keeping me more active. So the potential for wearables is absolutely massive. Just this morning, when I woke up and was reading the Globe and Mail online, I saw this headline. I don't know if you guys know, but Canada is becoming a leader when it comes to wearables. There are many interesting companies that are being built here today, in Toronto in particular, that will change the way that people wear some of these devices. And it will also change the way that many industries interact with the public. This is also a headline from just a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you had a chance to see this one, but Manulife is actually rewarding customers for healthy habits. And the way that they're doing this is by monitoring, if they're using fitness activity sensors, things like the Fitbit, they're actually rewarding them if their customers are active. If they are physically moving more and they're using some of these devices, they're going to get discounts. And at the end of the day, we know that consumers are going to absolutely love this. Again, from a privacy perspective, I'm hoping that everyone in the room here is going to help us all figure out how this evolves and how we do protect our privacy because of all the data that's being shared here. Now, when we talk about wearables, we talk about them a lot in the context of being activity monitors, but they're much bigger than that. One company that really blows me away and excites me at the same time is a company from San Francisco called Cuff. This is more than just wearables. This is smart jewelry. The idea that our jewelry can become smarter because it has sensors in it, and it can even keep us safer. Sure, it can do all those things like help us be healthier, but at the end of the day, it will keep us safe. And this is how this works.
First, what you do, couple vibrate when someone important calls or texts you, so that you won't miss it, even if your phone isn't directly on you. Also, if you leave your phone behind, your car will look rapid, reminding you to go back and get it. And how keep you fit? Throughout your day, help monitor your movement and let you know how active you are. Using the Help app, you can see how close you are to your personal activity goals. You can even input what you eat to compare your calorie intake to the calories burned. Finally, Help keeps you safe. If you ever get in trouble, you can request for help. And an emergency alert will go to your friends and family telling them you need help. They'll be giving you a location, as well as audio of what's happening at the scene, so that you can get the help you need fast.
So just a little informal survey. Are there women in the room who would wear one of these? Anyone? A few? Are you scared to say because of where you are? I understand. We'll talk later. I'll tell you how to get one. All right, so let's move on to the future of homes. This is a big one when it comes to the Internet of Things. Many of you have probably seen Nest. This is the company that Google bought for billions of dollars. Nest has many interesting benefits, of course, one being that you can monitor your usage as far as energy in the home, and of course, save money as well. And if there's one company that wants to own your home, it's Google. I don't know if anyone saw the announcement yesterday from the Google Developers Conference. Anyone watch that online, see what took place? Well, they actually announced a new operating system for Internet of Things devices. So an entire system that you will eventually be able to run from your Android devices on your phone. So even if you're buying from different manufacturers and you have all of these connected devices in your home, you can manage them on one smartphone altogether on Google's platform. Now, you may be thinking, well, Apple's had this in some respects for about a year now, but Apple's much slower to be able to adapt and improve that technology than Google is. So at the end of the day, when it comes to the future of homes, Google is very well positioned to be able to be a leader in that space. So with future of homes, we also have products out there like the Kivo lock. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a Bluetooth lock, a deadbolt that you install on your door, and you simply have your phone in your pocket, you tap the lock, and you can walk through the door. What else you can do is you can monitor who's coming in and out of your house. You can also create digital keys for people. Let's say you have a cleaning woman or a painter coming to the house. You create a digital key, and you're able to send them a key through the app so that they can get in your house. And you may be thinking, well, from a security perspective, what does this do to the security of my home? Well, the good news is you can lock it down so that key's only usable for a short period of time, and then no one can use it anymore. So Kivo is definitely a leader in this space. The first time I realized when it comes to the Internet of Things that this is finally mainstream, this isn't something that I'm just talking about that's going to happen in the future, was recently on a Marilyn Dennis segment when one of the producers asked me to do a segment about the Internet of Things, about connected devices in the home. We showcased a bunch of different products, including a crock pot that connects to Wi-Fi that you can set to go off while you're at work to make sure that your food is ready when you get home, and Kivo as well. So when it comes to the future of the home and the future of the smart home in particular, this is another product. This is an interesting one. It's called Pixie. And this isn't about buying a standalone thing like Kivo or Nest. This is about taking those everyday objects that you currently have in your home and simply putting a sensor on them so you're creating your own Internet of Things products.
For example, put Pixie on the remote. Pair it to the Pixie app, and its precise location instantly appears, accurately locating, protect, and organize all the things that matter. To do that, Pixies actually speak to each other. Just listen.
What just happened?
What just happened is a revolution in our everyday lives. We call it our Location of Things platform. Things that are Pixified can talk to each other, even through walls. Our app listens and accurately locates them down to inches, so you can see precisely where everything is. And it's completely private, so no one can see your stuff but you.
Maybe. Maybe. I saw all of you smile a little bit when you saw that you can put that on the remote control. I don't know about you, but it's something I lose on a regular basis, so I may install this if, in fact, it could be safe. And when it comes to the home and it comes to doing things that are kind of a bit of a struggle at times, like brushing your children's teeth, the Internet of Things has even impacted that tiny little sector, in fact, with Internet of Things toothbrushes, believe it or not. All right, so the toothbrush is a little silly, but my 6-year-old would probably be into that nonetheless, playing all of the different games. So we've talked a little bit of it, taking you on a journey. We're about halfway through. We've talked about the Internet of Things being meshed into products when babies are born. We talked about the whole life cycle as people become older and taking care of an elderly patient or a family member. Now let's go into, beyond the smart home, the future of cities, because there's some great potential here when it comes to the Internet of Things, and we know there are many cities that are trying to be able to be smarter about the way that they use technology and collect data. One of the smartest cities today is definitely San Jose in California. They are desperately trying to build one of the smartest cities in the world. It's created an amazing opportunity for people to come to San Jose as far as job opportunities, and also an amazing city overall as far as the technology there. One of the biggest issues that many cities have, and of course Toronto is no exception, is the issue of traffic. I think the good news for all of us is that based on managing some data, collecting data, we can solve this problem, and probably will be one of the first problems that we do solve when it comes to smarter cities. Here's an example of how some individuals and companies are working to make our cities smarter. So parking is happening today, alleviating traffic problems. Things are being done today, but what about the future of cities, and what about roadways? This is actually a company that exists today that is planning to change the type of roads that we drive on to make those roads connected. Here's how that will work.
For those in the north, like they don't keep into the electric outlets to keep the surface temperature a few degrees above freezing. They're heated. No more ice and snow on roads, causing traffic delays, accidents, and injuries. No more shoveling your driveway and sidewalk. No salt corroding your car.
ride your bike or drive your motorcycle all year round. Whoa. Every panel has LED lights on the circuit board. These programs make landscape designs, warning signs, parking lot configurations, whatever. These roads never have to have lanes repainted, just reprogrammed to whatever we choose or whatever works best. Imagine a highway goer lighting out ahead of you. How much safer it would be to drive at night. There would be improved visibility for pilots landing on solar landing strips. Imagine walking onto a solar recreation court and choosing a sport configuration. Want to play basketball? Cool. Kids want to play hopscotch and foursquare? Awesome. Ball hockey? Done. And with LED lights under your feet, it's going to look like freaking Tron. But real, because this is the real world. But these panels are also pressure sensitive, so they can detect when large debris like branches or boulders have fallen onto the road, or if an animal is crossing. They can warn drivers with LED text to slow down for an obstruction.
Again, it looks like this is all just fun and games, but think about what a big industry this is. Cities will spend about $4 trillion on infrastructure upgrades for the Internet of Things by 2035. $41 trillion. They're going to be collecting a lot of data. So the future of the environment for number 6. This is a network that exists today. This idea that we, of course, would all love to have better air quality. Perhaps we don't worry about this as much in Canada, but in other parts of the world, they definitely do. So what people are doing is they're putting little sensors on their home that's measuring the air quality. And this is a community of people that have come together so you can get a sense of what the air quality is at literally, you can pinpoint it to any specific location. When it comes to the future of the environment, in agriculture, they're doing a lot now with the Internet of Things, including tagging trees. So essentially putting sensors in trees that are cut down so you can track their voyage, just to be able to be smarter about the way that they monitor what's happening in forests around the world. And when it comes to the future of the environment, we probably have no bigger problem, I mean, there are a few of them, than garbage, and how much garbage we have, how it's collected as well. Well, this could be one solution.
The Big Belly Solar trash compactor is a solar-powered trash compactor. What it does essentially is as trash fills up inside the can, there's a photo eye sensor beam that senses the height of the trash. When it's time to run a compaction cycle, it will compress the trash. With that mechanism, you can fit 5 times more waste inside a Big Belly than we can in a traditional trash can. At some point, you can't fit any more waste in there. And the can is smart, and it's connected wirelessly. When a trash can needs to be empty, all our customers need to do is go onto the website, look and get the list of cans that need to be empty, and they have 100 of them. They might only have to go pick up 25 in a given day.
So the future of business. There's a lot happening in the corporate world today to ensure that businesses operate in a smarter way. One example is just this device called Droplet. What it does is, let's say if you go into a big corporate park somewhere, corporate office park, where they have lots of different buildings and yards that need to be watered on a regular basis, this will actually help do that, but just based on doing things like sensing the moisture in the soil, knowing if the plants actually need to be watered. Again, this gives you opportunities to be able to save water in the long run. So the sprinkler will only water when it needs to. It knows the type of plants you have and how much water they actually need, and again, their soil moisture. The future of transportation is perhaps one of the most exciting things when it comes to the Internet of Things, because so much is happening, and there is so much talk about driverless cars. It terrifies me to no end to think about driverless cars, but nonetheless, this is happening today, and the car companies are anxious and excited and investing a lot of money into creating these cars. Of course, Google kind of leads the pack there, but there are many others as well. So if you think this is all futuristic, the reality is that it's not. It is happening today, although it will be a while before we see driverless cars. This is one example of a little pod. It is a driverless car that's being tested right now in the UK. You see all the dots here. It's being tested in all of those different cities. So what it is a little pod that you will essentially get in, you tell it where you're going, and it will take you to that place in the city. It's an experiment right now, but we can see when it comes to the future of transportation, this is probably the first thing we're going to see when it comes to driverless cars, not necessarily consumers or individuals. This will happen when it comes to public transportation. There'll be these little pods that drive us around, which is great for seniors or people who have accessibility issues who aren't able to get around on their own. Again, it's being tested today, not 10 years down the road, but actually today in 2015. Here's a happy person in one of those pods, very excited to try it out. And the ninth thing I want to talk about is the future of shopping, because this is also changing quite a bit with connected devices. And one of the big reasons is, well, there are iBeacon technology. There are also drones. We've heard a lot about drones over the past few years. And Amazon right now is trying to figure out drone delivery. You may have seen the story about them testing out drone delivery in Canada. That just went online a few months ago because they weren't able to do so in the US. And this could potentially change the way that we get products delivered to our homes.
Oh my God, these are octocopters. These are effectively drones, but there's no reason that they can't be used as delivery vehicles. Take a look up here so I can show you how it works. We're talking about delivery. We're talking about delivery. So there's an item going into the vehicle. I know this looks like science fiction. It's not.
So there we have it. This is just a fun little internet meme that went around after the story went online with 60 Minutes, talking about the excuses for your package not being delivered because it was delivered by a drone. That package has been left up a neighbor's tree, and of course the worker who arranged this delivery will be punished, and robot overlords are taking control of the universe. But nonetheless, when it comes to shopping, we have to talk about iBeacon technology, which has been everywhere recently. Air Miles just announced that they have rolled out this program in Canada today, where you will have this technology that essentially goes off as you're walking around a Rexall's, for example, that gives you notifications and different type of promotions as you're walking through a store. So Beacon technology has finally hit home in Canada, and again, will potentially change the way we shop, but also change the way that we're tracked and information that is shared. So the future of privacy, and that's why this is a scary one. I'm happy that you're all here today. And when it comes to the future of privacy, of course, a lot of things to figure out with the Internet of Things, because we're not just talking about the Internet anymore. We're not just talking about social media anymore. We're talking about everyday devices, billions, if not trillions of devices that will have sensors in them, that are measuring things, that are collecting data all throughout our homes. If you think social media has become an issue for today's world, just think about the issues that will come down the road because of some of this technology. This isn't a made-up story. Google has actually filed a patent for internet-connected devices or internet-connected toys. So they want to ensure that they have a patent so that toys can come to life using sensors, and they will do things like be able to talk to kids, probably recognize kids' voices. A lot of people up in arms about this, but they haven't even done anything yet. But if you look at a company like Mattel, they do have a doll out today that will talk back to you that does have a sensor in it. And you can imagine from a consumer perspective, the fear that you may have thinking about your child, that someone is actually monitoring, listening to your child on a regular basis. And we saw this fear not that long ago with Samsung and their smart TVs. This idea that Samsung's TVs, they turn on and they're listening to you with voice commands, and they are essentially taking your voice, uploading it into the cloud. And we saw headlines like this. Samsung gives warning about talking in front of the smart TVs, and the headlines went on and on and on. So when it comes to the future of the Internet of Things, what are organizations doing today? I would love to stand here and tell you that they're doing a lot, but based on my experience going out and speaking about this topic, they're not doing too much. They don't fully understand the Internet of Things. Some of them are taking baby steps to prepare, but a lot more will be done. If you think back to some of those stats that I talked about those 20 billion devices that will be connected by 2020, and how much this is going to change everything in our lives, I mean, again, we talk about the internet as being this big thing, but this is absolutely that much bigger. Think about that image that I showed you when they were announcing the new Pope at St. Peter's Square in just 8 years, how much mobile technology has impacted our lives. So what are we going to see in the next 10 years when I'm able to put sensors on absolutely everything and have all of those devices connected? That's where the shift is really going to happen. You know, some organizations are updating their old technology to stay up to date. They're doing things like developing cloud plans. They're tackling security issues, which continue to be plenty. They're educating their teams. And of course, they're promoting progress. But at the end of the day, the technology companies continue to move faster and faster. And the rate of change is only going to increase over the next few years. So just to wrap up, and I think I might have time for a couple of questions, just to wrap up, you remember my video off the top of the presentation of my son when he was just 2 years old. He's now 6, and a lot has changed in his life. I'm fascinated with this generation, much more so than the millennials. And what amazes me to look at him is just how he's learning, how he's consuming information. I came home from work not that long ago, and I walked in, and he said, "Mommy, Mommy, I want my own YouTube channel." And I looked at him, and I thought to myself, I knew this time would come. I knew it would come. But I didn't think it was going to come at 5 years old or 6 years old. I thought maybe you would be 10 when this time would come. But the reality is that's the way that he's consuming content. You know, he's watching YouTube shows of people teaching other kids how to play Minecraft, which is a 3D Lego-like environment. It is a game that he absolutely loves and has many educational qualities to it. So I said to him, I said, you know what? Even though I'm out there, I'm on Facebook, I have 400,000 followers on Facebook, 100,000 on Twitter. I'm out there in the public all the time. But I value my privacy. If you go through all of my accounts, there are no pictures of my son. He's never, ever appeared on Facebook or anywhere else, and I don't want him to. So I said to him, okay, we're gonna make you a private channel on YouTube that only your grandparents can see. We'll start it up. And I started giving him advice about what to do, and he's like, Mommy, I got this, I got this. I was like, okay, so we'll hold up an iPhone and we'll shoot our first video and see how you do, but we can redo it. It's okay if you stumble, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I have this. So here's his video of his first experience creating a YouTube video for his little community of family and friends. And there you have it. And I imagine it's not long before my son says to me, Mommy, I have this kit. It has sensors built into it, and I want to make all of my toys connected devices so I can monitor them from my smartphone or my tablet. This will all happen. So today we have the rise of the screeners. We have the Internet of Things. Things, again, are growing at such an alarming pace. And at the end of the day, I think we can all do a lot in terms of getting better educated about how this technology is going to impact all of our lives. So thank you very much, and I can take a couple of questions. And I think we have microphone runners here who are going to run the mics around. Please feel free to ask me questions. I mean, I actually typically speak about social media. I'm kind of glad I wasn't doing that today. This is a new topic for me, but if there's questions about social media, technology, Internet of Things, I'm totally open to answering them, and we should have a couple minutes to go through some of those questions. Anyone? You guys have it all figured out? A lot of smart people here. In the back? It always takes one person to be first, so thank you.
I just was thinking about the Google announcement yesterday with Now. Is it Now? Anyway, and the balancing of privacy because right now privacy is based on app per app. Mm-hmm. And do you think that there's any comment that you can make yet on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty new announcement. So the question is just about Google's announcement yesterday. I encourage all of you to go read it. I think it's called Briller is the name of the platform. And typically, Google does manage everything as far as little specific apps. My guess is they'll do the same thing within this new system, this new platform, is that it will be little apps to manage different things within your home. So I think they will have to separate it out. It'll be just too difficult from a technological standpoint to be able to build something that is just built on one app. I can't see them actually doing that. So here we have it, an entirely new platform, right? You have Google Play for apps for your smartphone or your tablet. But now we're going to have this new Internet of Things platform with Google, again, and you can imagine apps that are going to start rolling out on that platform. So just a lot more for the rest of us to keep up with. More questions? Are we good? No? Okay.
I've got one question for you.
Oh, all right.
As the publications director, I am a disseminator of information, and people are always complaining to me that it's impossible to keep up. And other than watching one of your numerous channels,
Thank you.
These are all privacy professionals, not necessarily sort of tech professionals. What are your recommendations for places to keep up with this stuff? If you want to see this as soon as you do, what are your go-to channels?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, you're exactly right. This is my job, so I have to be reading about this stuff on a regular basis. But there are two blogs that I read every day, and they have all of this stuff and more. One is TechCrunch. So just TechCrunch, exactly how it sounds. That's a great place to go to get the latest news on anything that's happening in technology, Internet of Things, social media, or beyond. And Mashable.com as well. Mashable really started as something that focused more on social media, but they've evolved over the past few years to touch on technology as a broader topic, and they'll talk about things like drones and wearables and the Internet of Things in general. So if you were to just scan those 2 blogs every single day for even 10 minutes, you would be able to, you would be able to almost keep up with what's happening. It's a beast as far as the information, but those are 2 great places to start.
Awesome, thank you. So remember, that's TechCrunch, Mashable, and the Daily Dashboard. Those are the 3 things.
Wait
that
a
she
second,
said
I didn't say that last
you
one.
should read every single day.
Who
So
gave
thank
that
you so
guy a
much,
mic?
Amber.
Who
Thank
gave
you.
that guy a mic? Okay, so if there's no more questions, I encourage all of you, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at AmberMac, or you can easily find me online, and probably find my email address as well, but not my home address. And ask any questions privately if you'd prefer that, and I'll stick around for a little bit. So thank you very much, and have a great day.